Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for being here. I can't think of a better way to close out Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month than by demonstrating that we stand with those victimized by crime. On Sunday, I spoke as part of an observance of National Crime Victims Week, and I talked about a weekly update that I get from LMPD that is full of key crime statistics. The number of homicides, which sadly is about the same as last year, is unacceptably high. The number of criminal shootings overall, which I'm pleased to say is about 36% less than 2021, is trending in the right direction. And we know that the number of gender-based incidents of violence, including sexual assault and domestic violence, rose nationally during the pandemic. So you might ask, okay, if shootings are down 36%, why are homicides about the same? And we have had an unfortunate increase in domestic violence homicides here as we've started this year, with about 11 or so out of the total 55, roughly 55 when the last report was printed a couple days ago. So domestic violence obviously is a very targeted crime and much more lethal as well, and you can see that in the type of statistics that I just spoke about here. Now, you can talk about numbers and you can talk about statistics, but they do not adequately describe the impact of crime on its victims. So as a city, we're working to address that impact however we can with our LMPD Victim Services Unit, for example, and our GVI Community Policing response to victims, both of those teams. We're providing $100,000 in seed money to set up a new victims fund with the Volunteers of America and Game Changers, and we're creating a Survivors Advisory Council made of people who have been victimized by specific crime, gun violence, to help shape policy and prevent more violence. Our Office for Women is working to improve responses to gender-based violence, including training professionals how best to investigate and prosecute stalking and human trafficking. Human trafficking is a particular problem here in the city during the Derby season. So we've got people that do nothing but traffic, and they flood people here in the city during the Derby season, and off they go. So we're always on alert for that, but particularly during the Derby week. So today, I'm pleased to join Metro Council to sign an ordinance into law that will provide paid leave for Louisville Metro Government employees who've been victims of domestic violence and other crimes. Specifically, it allows 7 days of paid leave for an employee to seek physical and mental health treatment to deal with the impact of crime, as well as for court appearances or relocation. All information about the employee obviously will be kept confidential. The number one goal is to support our coworkers who are in pain and to create a culture of safety and respect in our workforce. The measure also will allow survivors more freedom to be part of the justice process or seek healing. Studies have shown that this will also result in cost savings over the long term, because you reduce absenteeism and boost employees' ability to focus and perform well on the job and take the necessary time to move through traumatic events like this. I'd like to thank all of the members of my team who supported this measure through the legislative process, especially Gretchen Hunt, who leads our Office for Women. Our Human Resources Director, Ernestine Booth, Chief Monica Harmon with the Office of Management and Budget, Rebecca Hollenbach with the Center for Health Equity, and Nicole Carroll, Director of LMPD's Victim Services Unit. All good folks that do good work each and every day. The Metro Council, same category. And this type of legislation would not have happened, could not happen without their leadership. It was a great night last night for the council in many regards. One was that this ordinance passed unanimously last night by the council, so thank you and congratulations to them. So I'd like now to invite Councilwoman Cassie Chambers Armstrong, who first proposed this measure, and Councilwoman Nicole George, a sponsor, to talk more about it. Councilwoman.
Thank you to the mayor and all of our great partners in the administration who helped on this, particularly Gretchen Hunt at the Office for Women, who has just really been a driving force of so much great work. Today I want to talk to you about domestic violence survivors. Too often, the stories we tell focus on the perpetrators of violence, instead of centering the people whose lives have been altered by senseless acts. I got to know many of these survivors well when I began my career as an attorney at the Louisville Legal Aid Society, representing low-income domestic violence survivors for free. The women I met doing that work were strong, they were powerful, and they were trying to make decisions to keep themselves and often their children safe. These were women who had packed up everything they owned in the middle of the night and fled to a shelter because they were worried about the physical safety of a child. Uprooted themselves out of the blue to move to new cities to escape violence. I once had a client tell me she had pushed her child in a stroller for hours as she went to look for a job. She didn't have childcare, and she didn't have the time to connect with an organization that could have helped her find it. Too often, my clients encountered barriers as they tried to make these tough choices and get a fresh start. I had clients abandon the protective order process because they had just started a new job and they didn't have any more time off work to go to court. To them, the theoretical protection of a legal order didn't feel as important to them as the reality that they could lose their job. I saw clients move back in with abusive partners because they did not feel like they had the time or support to find new housing and relocate. I saw the women I worked with worry, agonize about squeezing in time for mental health treatment because they were too busy to deal with the trauma of what they had been through. Our city is at a moment where, like in the nation, domestic violence levels are increasing. Last year, LMPD documented over 7,000 instances of domestic violence in our city, including over 1,200 aggravated assaults, 34 sexual assaults, and 12 domestic violence-related homicides. Preventing domestic violence means providing survivors with the tools they need to prioritize their health and safety. That's what this ordinance does. It allows Metro Government employees who are survivors, both of domestic violence and of other crimes, to take 7 days paid off from work to meet their needs. Things like getting physical health care, mental health treatment, seeking support through a victim services organization, relocating to new housing, and more. Although this ordinance starts with Metro employees, we hope it won't end there. This is a model of what it means to support and center survivors, and I hope that other employers in our city will see the work we're doing and follow suit. When the mayor signs this ordinance today, I'll be thinking of all of the survivors that I've worked with who have faced barriers to keeping themselves and their families safe. And I'll also be thinking about all of the future survivors who hopefully won't face those same barriers because of this important law. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Nicole George.
Good afternoon. I want to echo our appreciation to the administration and specifically Gretchen Hunt for all the work. Crime comes at a cost both to the person victimized and our system. The person victimized has potentially lost their sense of safety and security. And Louisville Metro has a responsibility in addressing some of that safety and security. Providing paid leave will undoubtedly help those victimized navigate their path to recovery. It will also ensure a healthier workforce, which will translate into enhanced service provision felt by all in our community. Thank you.
We're proud to offer this benefit to our employees, and as Councilwoman Chambers Armstrong said, we really encourage everybody in the community to do this. When you ever encounter someone that's been victimized by a crime, it rocks their world, and so they need the time to process this. So to you as an employer, to be able to give that time, not only do I believe it's the right moral thing to do, but it also helps you in your workforce and certainly helps the victim and their family as well. So please consider that as we bring this into law here and sign the ordinance. All right, this is ordinance number 53. It is establishing paid leave for Louisville Metro Government employees who are victims of crime or domestic violence. And again, I want to thank the council for putting this forth, and I am proud to now sign it into law. Here we go.